Production funding for Flying Squirrels and Cider is made possible in part by the all-new 2015 GMC Yukon, offering professional-grade design and functionality. The all-new 2015 GMC Yukon, now available at Richmond area GMC dealers. Dan Doherty at Colonial First Mortgage, assisting customers with home purchasing and mortgage refinancing. Online at colonial1mtg.com and by phone at 804-218-4444. And James Limousine, driven to serve Richmond for 22 years. JamesLimousine.com, 804-273-1540. Coming up on Flying Squirrels Insider, the guys take you inside the topsy-turvy Eastern League playoff race. Michael Feldstein uncovers some hidden athletic talent at the Diamond. Jack Snodgrass pitches you Jack Snodgrass, and you meet new Squirrels outfielder Elliott Blair. It's all ahead as FSI begins right now.
I just want to do radio, not another year as a squirrel.
Hello once again, and welcome back into Flying Squirrels Insider. I'm your host, Jay Burnham, filling in for the great John Laser, who's on the road this week with the team in New England. I'll break down the Flying Squirrels' trials and tribulations with my good buddy Wes McElroy from Sports Radio 910 and Michael Feldstein here in just a little bit. But first, we'd like to thank the good folks at the Richmond area Buick GMC dealers for providing this beautiful Buick Encore that you see here on set. Later on the show, we'll also talk with our James Limousine Luxury Player of the Week, one of the newest members of the Flying Squirrels, outfielder Elliott Blair. But first, I want to talk a lot about what's happened for the Flying Squirrels since the trade deadline. The San Francisco Giants West did not make any moves at the major league level. When the deadline passed, they did make some moves that affected two members of the Flying Squirrels, Matt Duffy, Jarrett Parker, both bypassing AAA and getting the call to the major leagues. What a thrilling moment for these two guys.
It was such an exciting thing to see Matt Duffy get the call, because here's a guy, and we hear this so many times in sports, he plays the game the right way. We throw that around, but Matt Duffy really does, and he has clearly been, and if he never comes back here for the rest of the year, he's the MVP of the Flying Squirrels. Had a rough start to the season, got his swing right. Baseball is not a power game anymore. We've seen that since the crackdown on PEDs. Baseball is not a power game. Matt Duffy's known that. He's a guy, I think he's about 100 pounds soaking wet, but he knows how to spray the baseball, and he can put it anywhere. It's helped him so much this year. Get on base, being a stolen base leader. I couldn't be happier for the guy. And, we'll see over time if it transitions to the majors, but he has done everything in his power the right way, and it's such a great story to see good guys have good things happen to him, and he gets the call up.
Talk about pressure, too, getting called up and then getting thrown right into the lineup, batting two in New York.
How cool was that, though, to watch that game on that Friday night and see, there he is. And we were hanging out with him last edition of Flying Squirrels Insider, and there he is, up in New York playing at Citi Field. I couldn't be happier for him.
Just goes to show you the good juju that you get when you come on set at Flying Squirrels Insider. All right, Michael, now not only was it Duffy, it was also Jarrett Parker getting the call to the major leagues. Unfortunately, only the most interesting ball player in Virginia could go up to the big leagues, not get in a game, and then get sent down to AAA Fresno, but still a thrilling moment for him as well.
Oh, I think it was huge for Parker. He was coming off the best month of his career in terms of average. He batted .330 in July, was showing consistency and better discipline at the plate. He was striking out less, walking more. Parker was finally showing the potential, I think, when the Giants drafted him a couple years ago, the kind of guy they envisioned, and I think he was more than deserving of that opportunity.
And you were actually there when the guys got the call, just kind of waiting in the wings. It was a very weird moment for these two guys. They got pulled off the bus that was going to Altoona, told by the San Francisco Giants, hey, you're either going to get traded, you're either going to go to AAA Fresno, you're either going to go to the major leagues, or you might go rejoin your team in Altoona, and that was kind of a unique experience for those two dudes.
It was, and Parker was in kind of disbelief and denial that it was actually happening, but after some some convincing. I think he was finally sold on it. But it was such a cool moment because these guys, this is what their dreams are. They're fulfilling their dreams to get the opportunity to play in the major leagues. That's what it's all about. And to see them actually achieve it and to have the chance to go up with a teammate of yours, too, I think it made it that much more special. It's
a total minor league moment. You go from the Super 8 in Altoona to the five-star hotel in New York City. It's stuff you see in a Disney movie.
Yeah, absolutely. And unfortunately, that did not translate to wins for the Flying Squirrels when you take a chunk out of your middle of your order. We'll talk about that. And also the Squirrels skid, which was a franchise worst 8 consecutive games lost for Richmond. After those two guys got the call up, and Wes, it started with a rotation for the Flying Squirrels. Before it started with Duffy and Parker, it was losing some of your best pitching.
Yeah, and if memory serves me right, we were sitting here on the set of Flying Squirrels Insider when we started to have John started having the phone calls that transactions were happening. I go back to July 23rd and July 24th, and that's when you had Austin Fleet and Kelvin Marte, respectively, having their last starts as Flying Squirrels. And here's two guys that have brought you 16 wins on the season, a good chunk of innings, and after those two guys leave, they've gone 4-12, including that 8-game losing streak. I mean, you talk about guys who, stopped bad streaks from starting or bad slumps from starting. Two guys who ate up a bunch of innings. I think Fleet, before he left, was averaging about 8 innings per start. Yep. That's where, that was a huge double whammy to lose that part of your rotation because these weren't your 1 and 2 guys, but they were pitching like your 1 and 2 guys.
It's been like a quadruple whammy for the Flying Squirrels. You lose those two guys, and then we can show you just what Duffy and Parker meant to this club offensively.
Yeah, quadruple whammy is what it is. And I don't have these bright Quinnipiac education like Feldstein does, but I do know math. And when you lose a quarter of your hits, a quarter of your doubles, a quarter of your RBIs, and a quarter of your runs. You lose a quarter of your offense, and that gets promoted. That's a chunk. Baseball is a game where you are successful, you operate in thirds, and now you're losing a quarter of your offense. And Duffy wasn't just a guy who was offense. He was on the base. He was runs. He was hits. He moved people across. And Parker was a solid bat, as you pointed out. That's a hit. That's a quadruple hit.
I think that just added up to about $1.75, which would get you from Richmond south of the river across to Midlothian here.
Once again, not that Quinnipiac Feldstein education.
Absolutely. Now, that is the name of the game, but Mike, it doesn't just stop there with Fleet, Marte, with Duffy and Parker. It goes deeper into the bullpen, which has been one of the biggest assets for the Flying Squirrels, losing 2 guys due to injury, and left-hander Josh Osich and right-hander Cody Hall.
And you really have to feel, especially for Josh Osich, this is a guy who you could argue probably pitched the best month of his entire minor league career, 11 innings and 7 appearances. Didn't give up a run, only gave up 3 hits. He was coming off a blister injury and had a chance while he was hurt to really work on his stuff with pitching coach Ross Grimsley. And you could see without the pressure of having to make adjustments in the game, he was a different pitcher and his mentality was better, his confidence was better, and he was a big loss. And then you lose one of your co-closers in Cody Hall, who after giving up 4 runs in his first outing of the month of July, only gave up 1 run over his last 12 2/3. So 2 rock-solid arms were lost in that bullpen.
However, it's not all gloom and doom. We don't just bring you problems, we'll bring you solutions. We'll also bring you free stuff. Feel free to text FSI to 44544 throughout the broadcast for a chance to win a Flying Squirrels prize pack. Now, Michael, you mentioned the losses. We've talked about kind of how the Squirrels roster has been dinged up. But there is a glimmer of hope in the fact that you have some young pitchers. This is their time to shine. And in terms of getting wins for the Flying Squirrels here to head down towards the final stretch, you're going to need some of these younger arms to step up.
And it's not even just getting wins. I think right now, with all the injuries, you need innings. And the guy who I think has been the most reliable one in terms of innings this year for the Squirrels of the young guys has been Ty Block. Yeah, he had a rough outing in Altoona a couple of games ago, giving up 6 runs, 10 hits, went 5 innings. But 5 of his last 6 outings, he's gone at least 6. So he's been one of the more reliable guys. And Kyle Crick, up until his last 2 starts, in which only combined 5 innings of total work, actually gave you 3 starts in a row of 6 innings. And now you got Clayton Blackburn, who's coming off a blister injury. Well, he just went 6 1/3 his last time out. So it looks like maybe, hopefully, these guys can align up and start to step up now that they've pitched, anywhere between 15 to 20 games.
Yeah, absolutely. And unfortunately, you can't do it with just pitching alone. Wes, you're going to need some offense. And unfortunately for the Flying Squirrels, that's not coming from Angel Villalona.
No, it's not. 7 of 75 since he's come off the disabled list. And Michael, what did you tell me? He hasn't hit a home run since June when?
June 7th.
It's 98 at bats since he's hit a home run. Here's your power guy. Yeah. And let's combo this what we just talked about earlier. You lose Parker, who's a solid bat. You have Graham, who is your spark plug. He's not getting on base. You lose Duffy, and then Villalona, your power guy, is having a funk like this. He just hasn't come back right. I don't know if there's enough time to adjust it. I mean, luckily there's a fantastic hitting coach on this coaching staff that can help him out, but Villalona's got to find something because they, in the essence of the word need, they need him right now.
Despite all the woes that we just discussed, this team is still in first place in the Western Division as we record this, a game and a half up on Akron West. You're 8.5 games up on the Bowie Bay Sox, 20 games to play, and it still feels like you're going to the playoffs and you need to figure something out heading down the stretch. You need to figure something out because it'd be great to get to the postseason and it'd be really fun to talk about this team playing in September, but I mean, if you go in there and get embarrassed, what fun is that? Yeah. So they need to find something, and here's what you hope in those last couple of 20 games, that these are the guys that you have on the team, that the Giants don't call anybody up, and you learn to play together. It's a big adjustment getting that call up from single A just to double A, to personally adjust, but now as a team they've got to adjust here down the stretch.
I think it comes down to what you're saying, Wes. The team needs an identity right now, and right now offensively they're looking for one. As you mentioned, Graham has gone down in the rotation, looking for guys just to step up, but they need to find an identity again like they did for most of the season, and that got them to a franchise record 23 games over 500. Well,
it seems like a lot of the other teams have started to improve as the Squirrels really peaked a bit too soon. However, help was on the way for the San Francisco Giants here at AA. You get two outfielders, or infielders I should say, Blake Miller and Elliott Blair. Mike joining this team, and from what we've seen from Elliott Blair, who's our James Limousine Luxury Player of the Week this week, he's been pretty impressive in his first stint at AA.
Yeah, Blair kind of getting thrown into it along with Miller. It's a huge adjustment. A lot of guys will tell you that the jump from single A up to AA is maybe the toughest adjustment in minor league baseball as you advance through your career. And Blair's been very productive. He's been .375 since he got here for the Squirrels, playing some right field, and in Graham's absence has actually stepped up as the everyday center fielder. And then you look at Blake Miller. This is a guy who was leading the organization in RBIs in the minor leagues with 73. He's been .258, and he's actually helped become your everyday second baseman, giving Skylar Stromsmo and Miles Schroeder a chance to go to some other positions.
All right, quickly, crystal ball time. Wes, where do you see this team finishing, first or second, and how will they fare in the playoffs?
I think they end up in second place. Here's a big thing that we have not brought up, and we hope that the transition back from the DL is smooth. This team gets back Jack Snodgrass.
That's true.
Jack Snodgrass, tie block. You mentioned Kyle Crick. They get that starting pitching back. It can relieve the bullpen. I don't know how much offense you're going to get, but Jack Snodgrass has been a key. I mean, if we're talking about Matt Duffy as the MVP for this team, Jack Snodgrass is in running for number 2. He's a big addition. He's a veteran. He can help this clubhouse set the line and, see a little bit of a transition, a little bit of a spark down the stretch.
Pieces are there. Michael.
I'm going to go along with Wes. I'm going to say second place is where the Squirrels end up this year. You look at the recent 12-game stretch, Akron went 8-4. They're starting to get it back together after losing their top prospect, Lindor. Richmond 2-10 over that time. They got to use these 20 games just to get things back and lined up, ready for a playoff run.
Well, that's all for us here at the Colonial First Mortgage Desk as the Squirrels make their playoff push. Richmond trying to finish in first place in the Western Division. There's not only talent on the field at the Diamond, it's also throughout the stands and perhaps in the concession stand as well. We get Sandlot Sass with Michael Feldstein. That's next here as FSI rolls along.
And welcome to another edition of Sandlot Sass here on Flying Squirrels Insider. I'm Michael Feldstein. When you come to the ballpark, to the Diamond, to check out a Squirrels game, you're probably coming to see some of the stars of the future on the field. But what you may not realize is when you're on a line right here at one of the concession stands, that a star is behind the counter. VSU football player Brandon Robinson.
I was out of the ballpark one day with my family. My wife and my nephew and I are huge Squirrels fans, and they're huge funnel cake fans. So I walked up to the funnel cake counter to get something for them, and I see Brandon. I said, "What are you doing here?" And obviously he's covered in flowers, so I knew what he was doing. But it was a shock to see, one of my best football players, frying funnel cakes for the Squirrels. So I went down and I told Parney who he was, and just let him know that nothing better ever happened to him.
My buddy, he kind of started working there before me, so he was like, I got this really cool job working for the Flying Squirrels. I'm like, where is that at? He was like, the baseball diamond. They took over where the Braves were, so he kind of got me in working there. I didn't get to work at the same concession stand as him. He was working Dippin' Dots, and I went up to the upstairs stand, started working cashier. Then I started cooking towards the end. That season ended, and ever since then, I've just been going back and going back.
Brandon's a hard worker. He comes in ready to work. He gets his job done. He does it fast and well, so that's what makes him good about it.
It's rare to have a 21, 22-year-old kid be able to manage that much responsibility and be able to manage his time. Again, he's a 3.7 student. He's an all-conference football player. He worked all summer long, but didn't miss a workout here with us all summer. So I'm just extremely proud to have him as one of our guys.
How did the opportunity to do the funnel cakes, how did that come about?
Nobody wanted to make the batter every morning, so I was just the lucky one to have to do it. And then I just started making funnel cakes from there.
What makes his funnel cake here on the third base side different from maybe ones on the first base side?
Ours on our side, they are perfectly round. The ones at first base, they're a little thick, but ours are perfect. They are perfect to the T.
Nobody knew how to do it, so I just kind of went with it and tried to find a good consistency and started finding one and then just made it the same way every day.
You know, I've learned from Brandon a lot of communication skills. He's a good leader. He taught me how to do funnel cakes. So I'm actually the stock manager, so I moved into the kitchen to start helping out. So Brandon's taught me basically ins and outs of working around the kitchen.
Well, he taught me how to pour the funnel cake mix. He told me not to pour too much, but just enough to make it look a little fluffy. Taught me how to pour in the circular motion and all that. Put the sugar and stuff on there and all that, and flip it and all that.
Now that he's gone to play football now, is a concession stand going to miss him in his absence? Is the quality going to go down a little bit?
No, I mean, he have trained some, so quality ain't going to go down. It's going to even get better because he taught them real well. Trust me, he taught them real well.
We're excited, we're cautiously optimistic, and we're looking forward to Brandon and his senior teammates having a great year.
When you're there for a game day for the Squirrels, what do you enjoy the most?
Taste testing.
Taste testing.
Taste testing. Gotta be taste testing.
Hi, I'm Jack Snodgrass. You might remember me from such defining Flying Squirrels moments as my complete game shutout or the first no-hitter in franchise history. But despite my decorated accomplishments on the field, it's been slow finding work off of the field. That's why I'm here today to pitch to you the complete package pitcher, me, Jack Snodgrass.
Look, we all love Snodgrass, we really do. And there's no doubt he's an asset to the Flying Squirrels on the mound. But his real-world skills, they're kind of like his changeup, a little bit below average. Sometimes, off the field, he's just trying to do too much.
Are you sure John's happy with you sitting in his chair?
Hi, I'm Jack Snodgrass, the winningest pitcher in Squirrels history. Not only do I dominate on the mound, I can dominate your yard, water your plants, and trim your hedges free of charge. No mower, no problem. I come equipped with a Toro Time Master 3000 and an additional canister of eco-friendly fuel. Let me show you what I can do.
When we hired Jack, I thought it was going to be perfect. Grass isn't his last name. What could possibly go wrong?
Hi, Jack Snodgrass here. Not only am I the most handsome pitcher in Flying Squirrels history, I can be a valuable addition to any team.
Man, I thought I'd give Snodgrass a chance, help him out a little bit, earn a couple extra bucks, but he just really has a hard time focusing.
Top 9, 2 out, 0-2 count. Here's the pitch. Boom! Victory! Snodgrass strikes again. Give me some. Come on. Come on. What? What? What do you want?
Can I give him a hot dog?
No, dude. That's somebody else.
Oh no. Little help here, please. That guy Snodgrass, worst employee ever. For some reason, he refused to use his left arm.
Hello? Venezuela. Starting pitcher? Yeah, I'll be there tomorrow. See ya.
Are you hiring? Welcome back to Flying Squirrels Insider. Sorry for my absence this week up in New England with the team and with this guy, but he magically appears here on this roster and on our show. We welcome in Flying Squirrels outfielder Elliott Blair. And first of all, Elliott, thanks for the time, man. We do appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on the show.
We wanted you to be quickly introduced to this Flying Squirrels fan base because you, along with Blake Miller, are going to be a big part of this playoff push. Just talk about what the last week or so has been like arriving here and obviously being counted on heavily right off the bat.
Well, it was kind of a whirlwind. We had a red-eye flight to the East Coast. We left San Jose at 6 o'clock and got to Altoona, Pennsylvania about 12 p.m. the next day in time for a 5 p.m. game or something like that. So it was a pretty crazy flight, crazy couple days. Thankfully, we had an off day on Monday. But, yeah, it's been kind of a change. We're getting acclimated here. Thankfully, I knew a lot of the guys on the team from last year. And being in the organization for 4 years, I kind of knew some of the older guys as well. So it's been an easier transition for me, I think, than it has been for Blake. But thankfully, we came together and we kind of, rely on each other. And a lot of the guys, the older guys here, are great. They answer a lot of questions. And from what I hear, we've had a pretty strong season up to this point. We're kind of struggling as of late, but hopefully get things turned around and make the playoffs and kind of get where we need to be.
Fleeing California to head to Altoona. Usually residents of Altoona do that the other way around and flee to California. But you've only had a handful of at-bats here at this level. Have you already noticed a distinction in pitching? Guys talk about that level jump all the time.
Well, I think the biggest thing I've noticed is the command. Pitchers have a better command of their fastball and of one, if not two, secondary pitches. And so that makes it a little bit tougher as a hitter. You have to have a better plan going to the plate. But as far as velocity and things like that, it's not that much of a difference. You have overall a better core of arms. Their starters are going to be more solid 1 through 5 or 1 through 6, however many they have. But for the most part, the biggest adjustment is in your plan and your approach going to the plate.
Pretty cool moment for you. It hasn't quite happened yet, but by the time this airs, it will have. Your younger brother is a catcher in the Boston Red Sox organization. Your first homestand, he comes in. You get to compete against him professionally. What do you think that's going to be like?
It's going to be really interesting because I haven't seen him play a baseball game since 2006. I've never seen him play a professional baseball game. He's never seen me play a professional baseball game. So it's going to be fun for us to compete against each other and fun for us to actually see each other play and see, he's a catcher. I've never seen him catch a baseball game. Last time I saw him play, he was a middle infielder. So it's going to be a big transition and a big difference, and it should be really fun.
Elliott Blair is with us. We like to update people on potentially who might be future Flying Squirrels, and when you think you're a good guy to give us that update, what's happening in San Jose this season? Who else has impressed you as a teammate?
Man, we got some good players down there in San Jose, but I think Mitch Delfino at third base, he came on really strong. He pretty much for the most part has a pretty good plan when he goes up to the plate, doesn't strike out much, puts the ball in play, has power at times, has a good enough plan with guys in scoring position to drive runners in. He was a guy in the middle of the lineup. Another guy who's a catcher, Ben Turner, pretty solid catcher, manages to find hits here and there, doesn't strike out very much. So those are two guys that right off the bat come to my mind that could be here next year. But some of the staff, some of the pitching staff as well. But anyway, those two guys for sure, the first two guys that came to my mind.
As you go up levels, the ballparks get bigger. The Diamond quite a bit bigger than the ballpark in San Jose. What have been your first impressions of playing here in Richmond?
Well, I mean, the ball doesn't carry, and it's something that you've heard or that I've heard for the last few years about Richmond is the ball doesn't carry. But according to the dimensions on the fence, it seems to be similar in size, but you can hit a ball twice during BP and you'd be lucky to get it out. So it's a little different, but as far as there's still hits here. You just have to control the ball flight a little bit better. So big adjustment, but it's one that's necessary in the development of players.
Well, Elliott, glad that you're here. Here's to success in August and hopefully the postseason. Thanks again for your time.
Well, thanks. Thanks for having me.
And our thanks, of course, to John Laser and our James Limousine Luxury Player of the Week outfielder, Elliott Blair. Well, that's going to do it for us here on the set of FSI. The Flying Squirrels on the road in New England will try to bring home some victories down the postseason stretch. Don't forget you can text FSI to 44544 and we'll hook you up with a Flying Squirrels prize package. Thanks on behalf of all the crew here at Flying Squirrels Insider, my cohorts Wes McElroy and Michael Feldstein. I've been keeping the seat nice and hot for John Laser. He'll be back next time. Thanks so much for joining us here on FSI.
Production funding for Flying Squirrels Insider is made possible in part by the all-new 2015 GMC Yukon, offering professional-grade design and functionality. The all-new 2015 GMC Yukon, now available at Richmond area GMC dealers. Dan Doherty at Colonial First Mortgage, assisting customers with home purchasing and mortgage refinancing. Online at colonial1mtg.com. and by phone at 804-218-4444. And James Limousine, driven to serve Richmond for 22 years. JamesLimousine.com, 804-273-1540.